of life to make the games of their careers, have an amazing time doing that, and to fulfill those fantasies of our passionate players. We are actually at 3 different locations as a team. We also have work from home across the globe, starting with our San Mateo studio, which is our HQ here in the Bay Area in California. And then 2018, we'd opened Crystal Northwest up in Bellevue, Washington, starting with 25 like-minded folks who then have now grown to 75 at CNW. And then last year, we opened our Crystal Southwest studio in Austin, Texas, with 1 employee that has now grown to 31 employees and continues to grow as we are. On the right-hand side, this is just a couple reminders and glimpses of the IPs that we're known for and been part of, starting at the top with Legacy of Kain, one of those beloved action franchises that combine great mechanics and great storytelling in a unique way that our fans consistently and constantly remind us how much they love that franchise. In the center there, and at the bottom, you'll see the 2 first games of the Tomb Raider trilogy, starting with the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider, and then the Rise, and of course, Eidos, who did the end of the trilogy in Shadow. These are the 2 games most recently that have really highlighted what great looks like, what Crystal is capable of.
That's
the
kind
types
of like
of
what?
stories and cinematic experiences,
Are they doing
and the
another
award-winning campaigns and stories that we put together, and you can see a smattering of some of that in the middle of the slide on the left. But what makes Crystal special is the people. And looking at the bottom left, I wish I had time to go through all of them because the amount of talent here, the years of experience, the pantheon of products they've all worked on is staggering to consider. But just a few of these faces, looking at people who've been here for almost the entire time that Crystal's been around, 30 years, but somebody's been here for 26 years of that. Looking at some of these other folks who've only been here a few years, but look at those histories, 20-plus year veterans across the industry. So we have seen it all. We've been through it all. We know the platforms and the games. We have this amazing, staggering amount of talent to be able to focus in the direction for what's next. We also have new folks who joined just a week ago, and they came here because they want to be part of this diverse and inclusive culture, this crystal of coming here to make these games of your dreams. And for us, it is exactly why we do what we do. So if we go into the next slide, we can talk briefly about the Tomb Raider franchise. So this is a storied global franchise. It's been around since 1996 when it was first introduced. And a few of the AAA games in the top row there, just looking back together, we've had 88 million units sold of the AAA franchise to date. And really importantly, looking at 2013, 15, and 18, the Reboot trilogy, 38 million of those come from those 3 games alone, which really speaks to the appetite, the durability, and the extendability of this franchise. Looking at the bottom row, these are some of our digital offerings, areas where we experiment with our technology and opportunities for new ways for folks to play our games. Lara Croft Guardian of Light and Temple of Osiris being couch play, arcade action games. Looking at the 2 mobile games on the right, where we had our first free-to-play Relic run, which garnered 50 million downloads on its own. That just shows the power of the brand inside of the right space. And then looking at Lara Croft Go, it's an award-winning mobile game that still stands at one of the highest-rated games in the App Store.
They were owned by Square.
And the features of that product. But this is
now
just looking
Crystal
at the
and all the American
we still have
Square
an entire
companies
transmedia world out there known for films, new series coming, comics, and looking across what the possibilities are for this franchise. I tell you, the best is yet to come. With that, I'll hand it over to David.
The best is yet to come. This guy just got stinking rich. Although 300 million isn't that much, but I guess what are you really buying?
And I am an introvert and French speaker, so like be patient with me. I cannot speak as fast as
the guys who made
but let's start
Guardians of the Galaxy?
With, Eidos. And let's start with the beginning. The Eidos adventure in Montreal began in 2007. At this time, we were 2 crazy people who decided to revive the Deus Ex IP as our first game. So a new team, a very complex production, a new tech, and a new studio. An easy challenge. But there were several reasons for this choice. First, establish a very high-quality brand studio image and attract the right experts with an iconic IP. And that's how the production of Deus Ex Human Revolution began. Since the critical acclaim and commercial success of this game in 2011, the Eidosians have developed games based on different IPs like Thief in 2014, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, yes, in 2016, and Tomb Raider in 2018. Establishing Eidos Montreal as a major player in the industry, an ecosystem capable of creating and producing high-quality games in full autonomy and on a regular basis. But we also went through
who
several
developed,
developments with our friends at Crystal Dynamics.
What's it
Tomb
called?
Raider in
Guardians.
2013 and Rise of Tomb Raider in 2015. Through the production of all of these quality games, we have developed a great expertise in creating deep stories, strong characters, and unique visual styles. So in 2017, we decided to adjust our mission and studio values in consequence. Our mission is now crafting emotions, and our studio values are people, courage, business savvy, and continuous improvement.
Did he say porridge?
A guideline and values that allow us to make strong decisions, such as to stop investing in our in-house game engine and to focus on where we make a difference, the content.
Yeah, the content.
We currently have several developments, and they all collaborate on the Unreal Engine 5 technology. In February, we celebrated our 15th anniversary. 15 years during which we have also built an exceptional and recognized organizational culture. Efforts rewarded by the Best Place to Work in Canada and Corporate Social Responsibility Awards last year. In 2019, we took over the management of Eidos Shanghai to strengthen our external development capacity in Asia. And last year, we opened a tech R&D branch in Sherbrooke, 2 hours from Montreal, with 32 experts in AI machine learning, rendering, online infrastructure, and cloud computing at work. How can we achieve all of this? Because I'm surrounded by a complementary, diversified, and talented group of experts who work with me to make Eidos an ecosystem where people are linked around the same values, feel valued as human beings, and have a say in the decisions that affect them. Eidos Interactive is at its best in 15 years. And I am convinced that to be part of the Embracer Group will take Eidos to the next level and make its talents, the gamers, and you very happy. Next slide, please. Eidos is the home of Thief and Deus Ex franchises. But let's talk about Deus Ex today. With the first 2 games, Deus Ex in 2000 and Invisible War in 2003, one Spectre created and shaped the reputation of this franchise.
Made Guardians.
The creative development of a Deus Ex experience is very complex to master, and Eidos Interactive successfully developed this expertise with 2 titles. With a 90% Metacritic, Deus Ex Human Revolution, released in 2011, has been a critical and commercial success, and by doing so, established our studio notoriety. With an 83 Metacritic, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, released in 2016, confirmed our capacity to deliver complex productions and high-quality games. With these 2 titles, we have been able to revive, modernize this franchise, and create a strong community.
I mean, the fact that they're talking
about the Deus Ex DNA is all about choices and consequences, integrated in every aspect of the experience as you choose your gameplay style, offering an exceptional replayability for single-player experience. But a Deus Ex experience is also synonymous with immersion. With a near future world rooted in today's life and challenge, a future that seems close and relevant, the Deus Ex games can generate a strong emotional connection beyond what action RPGs usually accomplish. And it is for all these reasons that this IP is considered as a genre-defined. Thank you very much. Tack. Patrick?
Fuck you, Mo.
Merci, David. So, Square Enix Montreal just celebrated its 10th anniversary. We started in mobile space with the objective of leveraging our amazing AAA IPs that had limited presence in the mobile space and expanding them to new audiences in global markets. So the strategy was to craft new AAA experiences that were tailored to mobile player and devices, but they would respect the pillars of these IPs. We were not going to take the usual route taken by many publishers that were porting their console experience or cloning successful games.
Time Splitters, Goat
and this
Simulator.
is how we came up with Hitman Sniper and the Go trilogy, Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go, and Deus Ex Go. And for those not familiar with these games, the concept behind the Go series was to adapt the AAA gameplay of the console game into visually stunning turn-based puzzle experiences that you can play in short sessions for an easier mobile consumption. All 4 games are critically acclaimed experiences that were positively received by journalists, mobile gamers, and console gamers alike.
300 million?
These games are all Apple's editor's choice, have won numerous awards. And Lara Croft Go, for example, has won the App Store Game of the Year and the Game Award Best Mobile and Handheld Game in 2015.
Interactive, Vertigo Games.
It also received the prestigious Apple Design Award.
Interactive.
But in order to grow our mobile business, we have made a transition from premium games to free-to-play in the past few years in order to bring our next slate of games to the hundreds of millions of players around the world that we just can't reach with premium games. So we've built our tech stack, or we have our own backend solution, our live ops engines, or BI suites. We find segmentation tools. We retooled all of our processes, all of our pipelines. We hired free-to-play experts. But we still have the same goal.
I agree. It's
and
weird.
It is to stand out in this very
Sony
crowded
and Microsoft
mobile market
didn't want to
by finding better ways to play our AAA IPs on mobile. We have a very strong core of developers that have been with us in the first years of the studio. And we've added a few key people to the studio, notably...
Especially since Crystal's working with Microsoft on... what's that thing called?
We'll be launching our first
Perfect Dark
free-play games this year. Back to Lars.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you so much
Ninja Shrimp for sure.
This presentation. So let's go back to the...
Is that better?
Transaction, a little bit perhaps less interesting for gamers, but as a public company, we need to take you through all the details, or to give.
Is that better? The audio?
Disclosure of the transaction this morning. So again, to repeat, the total purchase price.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
On cash and debt-free basis, paid at closing.
300 million. I mean, that's like one AAA game and half of another one. You'd get Tomb Raider. You'd get like 5 great studios. I mean, more, but.
And in total, there is more than 1,100 highly skilled employees joining at closing across 8 global locations. The acquisition includes a number of IPs, and
it does feel inexpensive.
Iconic IPs such as Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thieves, Legacy of Kain, and others. And there is a quite substantial catalog of those games and IPs
Square
being created.
America basically got acquired. All the stuff that is Square America. I think Square is still keeping a couple of games like Life is Strange and Outriders, but Crystal, Eidos have pretty much gotten sold off from Square to Embracer Group. So Square Enix is still Square Enix. It's split.
And we're expecting everything to be closed in the period of July to September this year.
Embracer says Chester doesn't have a history of AAA games, so I'm not a fan. Yeah, but you're probably never going to get Legacy of Kain and Deus Ex and Thief at $200 million budgets. So the fact that they're still going to make AA games.
Perfect home for these studios and these talents and these IPs. Our decentralized operating model loads very well to give the autonomy and freedom for the studio heads and the management.
The IPs go with Embracer: Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, all that shit.
With the ambition to always put quality first, to make it a little bit more polished and shiny, and to give enough time.
I don't think they'd be talking about Deus Ex and Legacy of Kain if they weren't thinking of another one.
I think that speaks well to the ambitions I've been hearing from the studios. There is enormous of potential across the ecosystem of Embracer to find collaboration in all sorts and forms.
Philip Boyle, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that, man.
And
I appreciate it.
The process will start at closing.
Morgan, yes.
Identify how we further potentially could strengthen each other. Embracer is all about entrepreneurship.
AK-47, my initial gut is that it's good news. It's going to give us a lot more AA games and franchises that people want.
Perfectly into
that you're not going to see companies wanting to spend 150, 200 million on.
Looking at
I could be wrong.
The IPs again, I think there is a pipeline that is very interesting. It's a little bit hard to talk around the pipeline without disclosing too much. But I was pleased to see during our transaction period or process that actually Crystal Dynamics did announce they are working on a new Tomb Raider game. So at least I could say that. Scott ended his presentation saying, a little bit of the
14,000 employees.
And the shareholders and other stakeholders have been following Embracer for the past period knows about, we have been talking about the opportunity we see in transmedia, meaning putting IPs, and IPs could travel between different medias. And obviously,
hello, Life Reaper.
Iconic IPs, as we have been talking around this morning, there is even more potential to do things. And I can't wait to see what these IPs could bring on other medias. Post this transaction, Embracer Group will have more than 14,000 employees, whereof and 10,000 engaged game developers on a daily basis. We will have 124 internal game development studios, and I think Eidos Montreal will be the largest by that.
Tanish, I hope so. I hope so.
Also pleased to see that US, our will be number one in terms.
Vessel says Square is reaping the whirlwind from the huge blunders. Yeah, but honestly, it's probably for the best because, their president, I don't know if he's being cut or what, but that guy was always apologizing, for Avengers and this underperformed and that underperformed. So maybe it's a good fucking thing that somebody's coming in there that might be better to run the thing. Cascoder says, would support for Avengers discontinue?
Looking into the future,
it's a good question, but I think they already kind of announced it's only running on fumes right now with Skeleton Crew.
We have done, again, extensive commercial due diligence and legal, financial, and everything that we normally do.
Vessel, yeah, for sure. Fuck that.
It's a well-managed business, and it's also been very important for us to understand.
I think Outriders also did Kyle Homer, right?
Behind recent releases from the studios. Looking ahead, again, we believe that we will make.
None your business. I agree. There were some good parts about it, but
based on the back catalog. Over the coming
yes, Mako. He just mentioned there's a new Tomb Raider game coming.
When the pipeline really starts to release, or the new games start to release, we at least see the potential to have a 500 million SEK in operational EBIT in average going forward. There is various.
That's a good question. Why it was so cheap?
Within the studios, one thing being potentially if we could. Or if they want to
Salmon, they did mention Legacy of Kain, which is odd because you thought that was kind of a dead license, but they mentioned it right at the top of this, so maybe.
I'm expecting to communicate further around the financial post-closing regarding this transaction.
You know what's fascinating about this is the charisma of this guy is just insanely powerful.
Additional
hello, Salmon.
Funding of 4 billion SEK, and we extended one existing loan of 6 billion SEK.
David VGS, I do too.
Meaning that we will have no short-term debt on our balance sheet, and no debt that matures earlier than 30th of June next year. The new additional bank funding also covers a number of other small and mid-sized expected M&A transactions in pipeline. As of this morning, we expect that we have more.
You think it's fishy? You thought Phil Spencer would pay more? Well, they probably couldn't pay more, right? Because they're dealing with the Activision thing. Maybe Square was like, look, we're going to shut our American shit down. It's not working. And so the heads of these companies were like, okay, well, if we can find a buyer, it is incredibly inexpensive.
Again, I'd like to repeat
300 million. Whew.
Financial targets.
Morgan, before they had all the game heads earlier, they had all of them talking about it.
Strong growth in free cash flow during 2022 and 2023 financial year, and the years beyond. We remain committed to deliver on our financial leverage target. If net debt temporarily exceeds one times net debt to operational EBIT on a forward.
Oh my God, dude, come on, nobody cares.
Our intent is to return to below 1 times net debt to operational.
It's like we have officially found the most boring man on the planet.
And the current trading we put out this morning in this press release is that we reiterate our current forecast.
I don't believe this guy.
Financial year 21.
This guy, Baraka the Rapper, wrote me and said, looks like Sony has acquired Square Enix's Eastern Division, along with its IPs, to be announced soon.
So
sorry, I don't believe you. I mean, that would be cool.
I'm pleased to welcome Oscar.
But I don't believe you.
Thank you very much, Lars, and thank you everybody else presenting. So I have a number of questions, and please remember that you can ask questions also in the chat box for those watching online, and I also believe you have an email address to send additional questions to, but the chat box is preferred. But I'll start with a few questions from me, and starting with some questions for Lars, just to
yeah, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people on Twitter
first of all, just want to ask about the two
are saying that they think, that Sony is now going to announce they've bought the Japanese side. Oh, here we go. Let's see.
Of the Galaxy, are they included in the transaction? I assume not.
Well, yes, all games that has been developed by the studios are included in the transaction. However, a number of external approvals are needed from external parties in order to close this transaction. And potentially licensors, as you mentioned here, could be one of those approvals needed.
Okay, and just to understand that correctly, if that would be approved, I mean, is that the base case that it is approved and that they are part of the deal and that you can develop
Mako, I don't know yet. Let me finish listening and I'll tell you.
I don't expect any notable commercial agreement relating to the studios or this transaction to be declined by either regulatory parties or business partners. However, that remains to be seen, obviously.
Are you guys making Silent Hill?
I think your question was relating to the two existing games and whether
Mutant Mo, it's
they will be
I don't know. It depends how long this goes.
And built upon and change from the existing plans today going forward. And I think that is the color I can give you this as
Okay, thank you.
If I'm clear enough, you need to ask me in the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then the next question, I mean, the process here.
Sector Embracer is buying the American Square companies, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, things like that. They're not buying Square Japan Enix.
Would be interesting to hear.
Well, first of all, I think there is a very long-standing business relationship with Square Enix to Embracer Group, especially, for example, through the business commercial relationship with Koch Media that has been going, I think, more than 15 years. So there is a relationship between management and also the studios partly, and they are well aware of these products.
This is a hostage video, is what this looks like.
And personally,
I'm looking for like a flag behind him of the bad guys.
And I'm super excited to have this opportunity.
Yeah, Live Alive looks great, Midmo.
So there has been a process with a lot of respect. And I think
probably not just incredible. I mean, if because they're no longer Square Enix.
To be a very good
That's right, Jay Moore.
Assets and studios going forward. And I can't talk around the sellers, but I think that has
Sammy, that's a great question. How does this impact Perfect Dark reboots? I mean, probably doesn't. I mean, if they've got a contract, they've got to, fulfill it or get bought out of their contract.
I think I'm gonna ask the team here about the pipeline a little bit. Do you have any more color, Lars, first?
He's thinking of all the shit he's going to buy with his new money.
Boring here and legal, but we have announced signing here of this transaction, or we have done signing today. We need to wait until closing, unfortunately, to get more color around IPs and the studios. And both Square and we are public companies, so there's a little bit sensible legal things we need to be mindful about. So the questions you need to direct to me, and let's see if I can answer them, Oscar.
Understood. I was just wondering if...
Sorry, guys.
Just wondering if there's any more color to give on the pipeline at all. We heard about the new Tomb Raider game already announced, of course.
Square Enix hasn't... Square East has not been announced that Sony's buying them. That's just speculation on Twitter right now because of this.
To get even more excited. So, but it's not only Tomb Raider. It's also a number of very sizable...
I have no idea, Ninja Shrimp.
What I define as AAA experiences in the pipeline.
He has a pocket Square. Let's at least give the guy props for having a pocket Square in 2022.
Franchises that we will own, as well as...
Yeah, RN4L says the dude's looking to the ground thinking about microtransactions and NFTs as well.
In general are further beyond these 2 years. So there will be a few years now where there will not be as many new big games.
But I wonder if they're going to fire the American president, or was he the American one? I think so.
Studios,
Hello, Dark.
Further ahead.
And just looking at the capacity of the studios, I mean, I think I saw and heard there's 1,100 employees. Is there any color sort of to give on the number of AAA projects that the studios are capable of, sort of simultaneously, or any color on that front?
I think we should let the studios talk when they are ready around it, but I think the color I can give is that they have the capacity to build a number of projects.
Bacon Magnum, my last meal would be whatever my kids want to eat, because I don't want to eat it with them.
That's for sure.
Great. And then perhaps one general and harmless question for Phil, if you don't mind, Lars. just wanted to ask you, Phil, about, I mean, what makes you excited about joining Embracer Group, and do you know the other studios in the group as well, and have any contact with them, possibly?
Thanks, Dark. Oh, look at that. It's a new sticker, too. Thank you for your super chat, super sticker, buddy. I appreciate it, Dark, and I love it. I've never seen that when it's a controller. That's awesome. Thank you, man.
It is long. So I've been...
Yeah, Dark Horse owns them as well, or they own Dark Horse.
Worked alongside.
Oh, right, Babylon's Fall, but that was a Japanese version, right? Company.
As Lars mentioned, we have a
Ninja Shrimp, you're going to hell. Either there or divorce court.
So I think there's great familiarity, actually. I'd say from our side, as I said in the quote, it's about the...
Jacob, my understanding, Jacob says, how do the Final Fantasy contracts between Sony and Square look? Will Xbox get Final Fantasy now? Embracer doesn't own Final Fantasy. Embracer, my understanding is Embracer came in and said, here's $300 million. We want all of the, we're going to buy all of the American Western version, like I guess your Canada as well, versions of Square Studios. So Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, I think there's one other one, but they don't own, they didn't buy the Square Enix Japan stuff. They don't have Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy or any of that stuff. Oh, right, it was Platinum Vessel. That's right, it was a Japanese game. Hello, Greek Speed.
Thank you. Then I thought I'd ask some questions from the web that has come in as well.
Why are you so boring?
First of all,
we can ask questions. Fun.
Question from
somebody send him a super chat.
Let's see here.
Bacon Magma, you need to send them a question. What do you think about incest in Sweden?
I will answer all the questions, Oscar. So
yeah, Square Enix Montreal, right?
That in mind. If there is very detailed questions regarding games or IPs.
Who's hating on Square Enix? Which version? I like Crystal, and I like I like the Eidos guys. I don't dislike that team or those studios.
What are the main games expected to raise their earnings in 2024-25? Are they mobile games or console PC games?
Right, that's right. Square kept Life is Strange, Just Cause, and Outriders. That's true.
I think it's almost entirely premium games in the base case. I'm talking about
Mute Mo, you ain't wrong, but I think he's a coward. I think Bacon Magma's a goddamn coward.
And what they've been trying to achieve, it's doing this on mobile is it's a challenge in today's market. So I think we are realistic, and we're looking forward what how we could develop this mobile team. And
that's a good idea, Dave. Ask if they're going to sell Embracer to Microsoft for an inflated price.
It's more or less.
It's like, oh, Microsoft, you want Tomb Raider? Here you go, pal.
Premium games and big premium games and a catalog of that. Then there is an enormous potential in mobile. And,
you should just start going like, my cock is enormous. I'm sorry, what? My cock is enormous. And
then a question from
next week we're going to be closing the deal.
Here,
I have no idea how much Embracer's worth. Phantom Kraken, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, who is Square Enix going to blame if a game underperforms now? It's a great question. Thank you for the super chat. I mean,
so first of all,
let me go to their wiki, because I think,
I'd like to highlight again the Embracer operation.
If you look at all the things they own, I know they've brought up AAA a bunch in this conversation, but the truth is, nothing, I can't find anything. The closest thing they have is Gearbox to a AAA studio, right? I mean, Gearbox is barely AAA. It's like AA plus. Everything else is solidly in the AA or mobile category. So I don't. I have a feeling they're probably going to say, you know, they've mentioned on this very stream, they've mentioned Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain, they've mentioned Deus Ex clearly as Thief. as valuable properties. So I'm wondering if they're going to go, yeah, we basically want AA games from these guys. So underperforming is very different when you're not spending 120 million on Tomb Raider. But it's hard to imagine they won't go all out for Tomb Raider, but we'll see. So Embracer used to be THQ Nordic. Is it the same thing?
On the financials, and starting with the guidance, which I've received a number of questions on. First of all,
Ninja Shrimp. I love AA as well.
In reiterating the guidance,
Koch Media is pronounced Koch Media.
Are you factoring in any new risks of disruption at Saber Interactive related to Russia?
Sleeping IP? It's a good question, Psychopolar. I don't know.
We are always factoring all information we have at hand.
Jay Moore says Deus Ex was considered AAA when it came out. Human Revolution? No, I don't know. I mean, I guess. But not. I mean, there's AAA, then there's quadruple A, then. Because like, nothing they've released except maybe Tomb Raider could hold a candle to the Sony AAA stuff. There's just not that level of quality and level of finesse and money.
The correct way to read it?
Well, reiterating that we will have operational EBIT in the financial year ended now in March between 4.3 and 4.7 billion as we forecasted on February.
I mean, you know, it's not like a real legal term, AAA. It's, you know, I saw it, it looked good, but it never struck me as a game that they spent, you know, that times, you know, version of $180 million on development. They might have. Bonga, it's usually just budget.
Any new acquisitions.
Great. And I want to ask also on the purchase price here.
Yeah, purchase price. Are you insane?
$300 million, I believe, PB at price value. And I believe there are some questions also from the web, I should say, about Square Enix issuing a release with some financials. And obviously it's quite clear that in your press release you see a very bright future and earnings potential in the many years ahead. But could you give some colors on how you think about the purchase price, and any additional color?
Gotcha, Chester.
Well, obviously, a process like this, there is always a number of parties involved, and I would say there's a handful of key players in the industry that are a good home for some studios like this, and that are able to execute on such a transactions. And I'm pleased to be standing here today. And I think looking at the purchase
well, you
price,
sure don't seem it.
Obviously, it's a lot of money, but I think it's creates a lot of shareholder value.
Why does he have a
purchase price
PS
for all shareholders at Embracer?
4 or 3 controller and an NES controller back there?
Timing and circumstances, that could have been a different number.
Yes, of course.
Now we are where we are, and I'm standing here, so I'm super pleased with that.
Great. And a question here from the web.
This guy's terrible.
Regarding Square Enix and the financials. Square Enix has communicated on its press release the financials of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos. Can you explain the low profitability, and I guess sort of the year that has passed, just to put into context sort of the
it's True Dark Nugget.
The performance and financials?
I can't comment on Square's disclosures on this, but without commenting on them, I think it's important to separate numbers being intra-group P&Ls and consolidated P&Ls.
He's got a Darksiders figure? Oh no.
Publishing revenues and costs. So I think it's two different things. I'm not commenting on Square in press release, but I'm just saying that numbers and numbers that could be very different. So I think overall I'm looking forward to have.
That's true, Vessel. He is not speaking his native language. It's a good point.
Obviously, we are in the IFRS process as well, and so you will see a.
He seems so sad.
You will.
Psychopolar, I'll get to your question. Just ask it after. We'll talk about it afterwards. I'm trying to listen to what he's saying, and that's a more difficult question, I think. So, but let's talk about it afterwards.
Understood. And then a question from Jesper Bersch Jensen with SEB. What type of back catalog revenues are the combined studios generating currently? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, so we have not disclosed that number, but I would say it's there is a number of notable titles in this back catalog. So there will be some revenues coming through.
The Initiative,
however, there is
are the guys that are getting help from Crystal on
operating this studios, obviously,
Perfect Dark
and overhead. So that's why I've been, I think, quite conservative, saying there is a break-even or
this
a small
was all made in
profit coming through
Deca
from
engine
this
for Kojima Studios. This guy's not real.
For me, it's important to say that we are not acquiring this for the short-term profits. We are acquiring this for the long-term.
Square will not close completely. Ninja Shrimp.
What value and what amazing games they could bring.
They're still a massive company.
Embracer is all about organic growth and
in terms of what they bring and. Even if they just make Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest and nothing else,
than just having a multiple expansion on a catalog on the short term.
Great, and then a question here from the web as well. Does the transaction also include an acquisition of Square Enix Western IPs such as Life is Strange, Just Cause, or Sleeping Dogs?
Oh, there's your Sleeping Dogs question.
I think Square had done some disclosures this morning about the transaction, and we have done our disclosures. I don't have any further color. Then we have been mentioning 4 IPs as of this morning, but there is also a number of other IPs. There is a number of things that will happen during this process between signing and closing, and I'm looking forward to have further disclosures in the future.
Understood. Looking forward to that. And then a question on transmedia. Obviously, you invested significantly in transmedia with the acquisition of Asmodee and Dark Horse, not the least. What do you see ahead?
Oh, is that right, Jacob?
With these,
Crystal Dynamics will continue to work on Perfect Dark and probably Perfect Dark 2 if it's successful. Oh, cool.
What's the plan and how does it fit in?
But obviously there's been a number of films produced the past.
Wasn't Sleeping Dogs made by Luxoflux, the guys who did Vigilante 8?
I think there's plenty of opportunities, doing films, TV series, books, comics.
Oh, was it United Front? I thought Luxoflux did an open world game.
But depends on what IP, what does it make sense, is it aligned with the core of the IP, does it strengthen the IP, and so on. So there's many factors, and that's why
the fuck did they make them? Let me look. I want to see what Luxoflux made.
The teams of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal and Nauer's team, they will work this out, I'm sure. So I will not.
Oh, True Crime is what they made. Streets of LA and True Crime New York City. That's
super excited about.
Hey, there's old Mutant Mo. 17 goddamn months. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I just want to say being part of the stream community has enriched the culture of games for me. I love it here. Oh, well, we love having you all so-and-so. You old horse trader, you old knucklehead. We love having you here, buddy. Love your part of our community. Absolutely.
How do you see, you obviously invested as well in mobile. Maybe sort of the bulk of the studios have a slightly different focus, but you do have handy games. And
Darksiders, Kyle, I love the first one. I haven't really I never got into the second one. The first one was great.
As well. How do you see this fitting in and sort of building and developing that? Any sort of synergies or potential there that you see?
I'm sure there is, potential for collaboration on mobile across the group. And there is a lot of competence across the Embracer group on this. But I think Patrick has built an enormous team already, and they are one of the most senior mobile games developer there is in this field. So I'm excited about the opportunity, but also I think we need to be realistic. Mobile is not easy, so I think we are looking into this deeply, how we could build on our strength and work with the team to create success. Again, we need to wait until closing until we could share more details on this.
Okay, great. I think that's it for the sort of most relevant questions, actually. And I wish I could ask Phil, Patrick, Scott, and David a number of more questions, but it seems tough at this point. So I'm looking forward to some more color on this in the months and years ahead. So with that, I think I'll leave it over to you, Lars, for some closing remarks.
No, thank you, Oscar. And I can't wait to bring them back on stage at a later point. And I'm sure they will be excited to share, things around IPs, the studios, and the pipeline, and so on. But we need to wait until closing, and then we can start do that. So no, but thank you.
Hey,
everyone.
Salvador,
Thank
I will be doing more
Oscar,
interviews.
and
Thanks,
thank
man.
you
I
all.
appreciate that. Thank you
Team
for being a member
members,
for 8 goddamn
shareholders,
months, buddy. Thank you.
advisors, getting these transactions done. It's been a real pleasure working with you, and I can't wait what the future brings us. So thank you, everyone.
I had to send a tweet out real quick. There we go. Hey, that was it. That was it. Well, here's my tweet I just sent out. Maybe he'll see it, and he'll be like, "Oh, thank you for that tweet. I appreciate it." Bacon, no, you're never guaranteed a gift. It's random. Or it's not really random. I know when it's going to be, but the whole point is you're not going to get to know when it is. So no. So there's your news, man. I don't know. Why didn't they bid more? I mean, I think there's absolutely no way to know right now, but my guess would be it has a lot to do with the fact that maybe Square is, hurting a little bit. They haven't been doing so well from a standpoint of sales. And maybe they're like, hey, this opportunity came along and they were going to, I'm speculating. I don't fucking know. But I wonder if it was kind of a thing where they were sort of going, we're going to shut these companies down or sell them off one by one. And Embracer came in and said, hey, we'll buy all of them. I really don't know, though. It's just me guessing. I have no clue. I do very much like the fantasy that's being floated right now on the internet. I don't have any indication it's true or false that is suggesting that this now, because Square has divested so much of their American, or all of their American stuff, it frees Sony up to be able to actually acquire Square Enix. But, who knows if that's true? Who knows if that's fucking true? But $300 million is not a lot of money. I mean, even for the Tomb Raider license itself, think about it. You're not just getting Tomb Raider, which is certainly $150 million IP, I would imagine. But you're also getting really seasoned developers, and yeah, maybe their games haven't hit, but you can't deny the fact that Avengers was an incredibly well-made, not well-designed, but well-made game, and the Tomb Raider games have been great in terms of, in general, as well as really well-made. So for that $100 million, you're getting a lot. I mean, I don't think the Legacy of Kain or Deus Ex IP is really that valuable right now. But it could be. But I think Tomb Raider in the studios, it does seem a little cheap. But I mean, maybe because we've been so spoiled and conditioned to these $80 billion acquisitions that $300 million is like, whatever. But I don't know. Why would Sony need a Tomb Raider? They have Uncharted. I don't think they would necessarily need a Tomb Raider, but it was funny. I was actually listening to Sacred Symbols on my drive. I was dropping my kids off today, and they were actually talking about it. It's like, it kind of sucks. They said that it seems that Naughty Dog is becoming this, let's just make Uncharted and remakes of Uncharted and Last of Us and Last of Us and Last of Us multiplayer. And they were kind of like, wouldn't it be great if just some other studio took over the legacy titles like Uncharted? I mean, that'd be great to see the Tomb Raider guys take on Uncharted. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a good buy necessarily for Sony if your goal is that intellectual property. But certainly you're getting some great studios. It's definitely, a better purchase for Microsoft. But they probably can't purchase anything right now. I don't know. Tomb Raider Uncharted crossover would have been great. Vitter, yeah, maybe. Okay, here we go. Psychopolar, I promised I'd get back to him. He says, sorry for spamming. It's okay. But here's my question. Do you think they'll again enter the Western market by making new studios from ground up, or will they just stay in Japanese market? You mean Square Enix? I want to say one of these, there was some Japanese company recently, it might have been Square. Let me look it up real quick before I answer your question. Make games not for Western. Somebody recently came out and said, hang on, that we shouldn't be making games specific. We should be making them for Japan and for the East. I'm trying to think if that was Square, because that might give you your answer. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess they will if it makes sense to them, but I think they definitely got a bloody nose from it, and just want to kind of, circle the wagons. I mean, again, we're all guessing. I don't fucking know. What do I know? I think here's my gut reaction on all this, though. I don't know them as people, but the Nordic, THQ Nordic, which is now Embracer, I like the AA space as a player and as a one-time creator. There's more freedom there. And I guarantee you, if you were talking AAA budgets, even though they're saying AAA, if you were talking Sony level AAA budgets, there's no goddamn way that you would have people being okay greenlighting something like a Deus Ex sequel for $180 million. No fucking way. But maybe Tomb Raider, but not Deus Ex, not Thief, not Legacy of Kain. So I think that's pretty fucking cool. That there is a company coming along that's saying, we want to do this shit with you. We want to make this shit with you. Because, you don't bring up these dormant franchises if they're not kind of on your fucking radar, right? I mean, that's pretty fucking cool. So, but I don't think if you're expecting anything other than Tomb Raider to be the kind of AAA you're used to, I don't think you're going to get that from Embracer. I mean, that's just me guessing. Yeah, Cascoder says, can they fund a Tomb Raider game? I'm sure they can, but I don't think they're going to fund a game like, Legacy of Kain at AAA, and I don't think they should. Why would you? I mean, can you imagine a raw, almost indie, like, 40, 50 million Legacy of Kain that's just violent and bloody and really not about appealing to the lowest common denominator? That would be pretty fucking cool, man. I mean, I would be totally down for something like that. But anyway, I mean, we're all, again, just a reminder, I know you know this, but we're all fucking guessing, man. Maybe there'll be small arcade titles like the Tomb Raider arcade games like Temple of Osiris. I hope not. I mean, I don't mind them making those from time to time. But I certainly hope that's not the mainstay of what they do. What the fuck is AAA mechanics? Are you asking me? So AAA mechanics meaning, if you look at genres that tend to fly well in AAA, like let's just take third-person action adventure / shooter, right? You can make a third-person action adventure shooter that is fucking awesome, that does not have AAA production values, but they have AAA style gameplay, and maybe it's even really fucking good. Like it's AAA quality of play, but it's not AAA quality of production or production values. Kyle says Darksider Genesis is the perfect roadmap. Darksider Genesis was the 3/4 view one, right? Of Darksiders, which I played. It was pretty good, but I would hate to see that title just become an isometric game. I would not want them to walk away from the over-the-shoulder third-person stuff. Psycho says, but isn't that bad for IP? Because I love those AA games, but suddenly going AAA to AA, Deus Ex and Tomb Raider will be just as bad. Well, again, I don't think they're going to do it with Tomb Raider. But frankly, look, if again, I would much rather, it's just like movies. It's just like anything else, right? I would much rather have a team that is passionate and hungry and has a unique vision, and they say we can do it for 50 to 80 million, or we can do it for 30 million or whatever, and it's not going to look like the best looking game in the world. It'll look pretty good because we're using Unreal 5. But we have something really cool to say with this versus like, let's just throw more money at it, make the same game we've been making for the last 20 years with better graphics, better production value, and put a bow on it and say, there's your Tomb Raider, there's your Deus Ex. Yeah, I'm not interested in that. I mean, that we have that already. That box has been checked. But I agree, Protoss, I would keep Tomb Raider AA. I mean, unless someone's got a real fucking weird-ass idea. Well, Legacy of Kain originally was Dennis Dyack. It wasn't Amy Hennig. But she did... What did she... She did Soul Reaver, right? Jacob, I don't know about that. He says Xbox has $60 billion left in their capital to spend till the end of June, and they probably want to spend it to spend their capital they have. I mean, again, this is not my world, but I would say what I keep reading is Activision has to be, or not Activision, Microsoft has to be real careful in acquiring these or announcing or going after another company, because one of the things that it looks like some people are trying to accuse them of, even within the government, like the head of the FTC is like, oh, she's really high on breaking up monopolies in tech. And even though this wouldn't be that, the last thing they need is like, oh, and now you bought this, and now you bought this. It's like, it kind of looks like you're on the path to monopoly, right? So I don't know. I don't see them buying anything until it closes, but I don't fucking know. Chester says Darksider Genesis was made by Airship as a side project, and it was good. I have never finished it, but I really enjoyed it. But I didn't, I wouldn't want that to be the main way, but, if it can continue the story, that's great. All right, fellas, I'm going to get to bed, but this news just kind of broke, and I figured we'd spend a little time talking about it. It's never, see what I'm saying? It's never boring. It's never fucking boring. People say, Jaffe, don't you want to make video games? Video games are fun sometimes, but 98% of the time it's drudgery, and 2% of the time it's amazing and exciting. Talking about video games is exciting at least once a week. There's always something happening, man. Always something crazy going on. Yeah, Deus Ex could become isometric, Mark. I could see that. There were that many Soul Reaver games, Kyle Homer? 5? There were 5 Soul Reaver games? That's interesting. I didn't know there were that many. But okay. Should humans under 18 be allowed to use marijuana? I don't know. I think it depends on the human under 18, frankly. I think shifting states of consciousness can be a very important experience in the life of someone spiritually, but I don't know if 18 is a magic number or not. I think it truly depends on the child. So, Soul Reaver, Blood Omen, and Defiance. I remember Soul Reaver, which was the one where he could warp the world. That was one of the first times we saw that, but there were 2 Blood Omen ones? Yeah, I don't fucking know. I don't follow it. I don't follow it enough. All right, fellas, I'm out. Be well. Take it easy. I'll see you on a future stream. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it, you guys. See you soon. Bye.